The Khajiit hail from a distant land called Elsweyr, bordered on the north by Cyrodiil, and the south by the glistening blue waters of the sea. Elsweyr is an arid land of deserts and rocky canyons, where the sun shines warmly, always. They're a city so ancient, the sands have swallowed them whole. But now I will say no more, for I miss my home greatly.
Wow. That sounds awesome. I think I'm due for a vacation. Hey, Arlen, pack my bags. We're going to Elsweyr.
But sir, what about the dragons? They're still decimating people, towns, and cities. They show no signs of stopping anytime soon. Then there's the vampires in the north, and I hear Mirok's making trouble on an island off the coast. What about all these side quests? You got a quest book bigger than a horker's ass. You still have this bag of supplies for the Greybeards. They're probably starving or dead.
I've been hungry so long.
And Lucky's still waiting on that potion outside the cave.
Hello?
Some of these people really need help.
Fuck 'em. We're going on vacation. Greetings! My name is Efrain, and I like playing Skyrim on the Xbox with mods and telling you all about those mods in a video. Thanks for tuning in. Today's just a quick one examining one of Skyrim's oldest mods that's been ported over to the Xbox and allegedly tweaked for modern mod enjoyers. I won't be delving deep into everything this mod has to offer and compare the differences between the OG version and the Xbox version. Instead, I just wanted to acknowledge how impressive this mod was for the time. It's a pretty simple adventure mod, but you really have to appreciate the creativity and ambition this mod brought back when it released, coming close to a decade now. Like it or not, this mod led the way for a lot of impressive and imaginative mods that explored other parts of Tamriel before Bethesda did it. So let's pay our respects to the classic by simply talking all about it. There'll be a bit of this mod's history, what it did right for the time, what it could have done better, and how it's helped mold the scene. So let's hit the road. This is Moonpath to Elsweyr by muppetpuppet for the Xbox. Now, this mod is a simple adventure mod, arguably on par with a small DLC expansion. There's 3 or 4 quests, several areas, some new armors, a player home, and several new characters and enemies. Admittedly, there isn't a lot to cover in terms of gameplay substance that you haven't already experienced in other quest mods or main game DLC, which is why I want to take some time to talk a bit about the mod's history before I examine and report on all the things that are included. Since the mod is quite old, it was developed with methods and tools that most current mods no longer rely on. The mod predates the creation kit, so it was made almost entirely from bare bones resources by deconstructing the game's assets and assembling them together with third-party software. On Reddit, one user replied to a post criticizing the mod with a quote from another user on a similar thread. The user stated, quote, "Regarding Moonpath to Elsweyr, you need to understand the context of that mod's development. It was produced in its entirety before the creation kit even came out. Everything was done by deconstructing Bethesda's original assets and rebuilding them in the primitive third-party programs available at the time. That's why, for instance, the entire mod technically takes place indoors, with the sky just simulated through some nifty behind-the-scenes work. So it may not hold up altogether well these days, outside of the voice acting, which is pretty great, but it's a technological masterpiece." End quote. At my very base level of understanding, the Creation Kit is a program primarily used to make fan-made content for Bethesda games, allowing users to easily manipulate game assets and easily import some of their outside creation. Now, others can go into much more detail with the Creation Kit, using technical terms and explaining exactly how and what you can do in it, but I lack the knowledge as I'm just a simple man, I ain't got no fancy learning. It may be the simplest and best way for hopeful modders to get into the hobby. All the tools are readily available with a huge amount of informational resources to help them. So to look at this mod's environment and creatures and know that all this was done without any assistance from common modding software is astounding. The sheer scope of the mod is admirable, and now knowing that it was not an easy feat to accomplish a mod that looks DLC-like with software that is, for lack of a better word, not beginner friendly is quite remarkable. I can't even imagine the amount of work needed to bring this mod to life, so it truly is technologically special. However, the mod does show its age in terms of narrative and quest structure once you actually play it. So, as soon as you start up a save with the mod in your load order, you immediately get a new quest, By the Light of the Moon. First, you have to head over toward Falkreath's southern gate to meet with some new Khajiit characters. You can talk to the owner of the caravan, Kurana, for some light background info.
It is so, stranger. Khajiit will step on the warm sands of our homeland soon. I am Karina.
If you like a bit more detail in a hard copy of the Moonpath story, there is a journal detailing the Khajiit path through the eyes of an NPC. This book will also level your sneak. But to get started, talk to the female first mate, Barina, to begin traveling to Elsweyr.
Do, dar, jo, no matter. You look strong. We can use an extra claw. Many Khajiit are gone. You can store your gear on the carriage.
As you travel, the caravan will make several stops because of some dangerous entities in the way.
Our path is blocked. Perhaps someone should take a look.
Simply do what you do best and murder everything in your path. The first stop is in the middle of the desert at a bandit camp. Looks like that part in Dune where Timothy Chalamet has plot armor so thick he easily beats that native planet guy in a knife. Just by taking a quick look around at the area, you can tell it's done pretty well with what they had to work with. With just Skyrim assets, the author was able to simulate a desert-like environment. The sand is obviously snow, and it looks like they applied the old Mexico in a movie filter to simulate a desert atmosphere. The wildlife here is simply reskinned Skyrim creatures. Hyenas are obviously reskinned wolves, and then there's this horse thing. They obviously applied some crazy textures to make it look kind of like a camel, horse, rhinoceros. Looks pretty good. Anyway, back to the quest. This area shouldn't be too hard. Put an axe in all their bandit heads and keep on trucking. The next stop might be a bit hard depending on your character and playstyle. You're dropped in the middle of the jungle and have to do some exterminating. The victims? Vibrant green spiders called jungle queens. They're simply alternate colored frostbite spiders, so careful with the poison. They also drop a mod exclusive poison that has a small paralysis effect. You can explore a bit of the area and find some blue dinosaur-like creatures whose attack animations aren't working, and a treasure chest just off the beaten path. After you're done, head back to the caravan to leave this area. But this is by no means the last you've seen of the jungle. Eventually, you arrive at the hub location of the mod, a jungle area with a fully stocked player home free for you to use. You also see reskinned saber cats colored to look like tigers called the Pamir. These guys act as town guards. They look rather silly, and it's all really silly, especially because they can talk. But as the saying goes, when in Rome, don't talk any shit, dude, there's fucking tigers around. There's also a sole NPC named Yura whose, oh boy, voice actress I'm sure was really giving it her all here, and for the most part it's pretty good. The Khajiit accent isn't easy to pull off, but the mic they used at the time diminishes her character entirely.
These are the waterways of southern Elsweyr, silly. I'm Yura. I live here. We were expecting you. Samir told me to come and welcome you.
And really reminds you that this is entirely fan-made, which really sucks considering the visuals, environments, creatures and effects, and voice audio quality up to this point has been quite good. It's all impressive considering this is all done on what was considered hard mode at the time with modding. And then poor Yura comes in swinging with that Dell laptop microphone that really takes you out of it.
Deeper down you'll find a door to the waterways. Travel there to find a mirror.
I mean, I certainly wouldn't shell out some cash for a quality mic just for a few voices of dialogue in a buddy's video game expansion that who knows pays how much, if at all. No fault falls on her. She does fine with the hardware she has, but it's incredibly jarring to hear compared to the quality of everything else. That's not the last of it that you'll hear throughout this mod though, so it's a good idea to remind yourself, hey, this is a very old mod. Now that we're all done shitting all over Yura's mic, we can move on to the actual main part of the mod. The mod basically functions as a DLC-like expansion with several side quests, complete with new enemies and characters, a small storyline, and some new items you can obtain. The main story requires you to venture further into the jungle waterways to a small Khajiit village. Through this small journey, you'll see red and yellow reskinned mud crabs, some more jungle queen spiders, and generally more well-designed jungle area. Apart from the skybox, the broken day and night cycles, and constant one-note lighting, I could see why the mod was praised so highly for the time. The areas in this mod do feel like professional DLC-like content. Anyway, you arrive in the village equipped with bridges, fishing boats, and several feline NPCs. Here is where I started running into some problems. So, you're supposed to talk to the NPCs in this area to start some side quests. However, I ran into the annoying issue of not being able to actually talk to NPCs. I would open up the dialogue menu and wouldn't be able to advance the conversation. It would get stuck in the menu no matter how hard I pressed the confirm button or how many times I pressed it. This was possibly due to some NPCs' dialogue being locked until a short animation played for them, but for whatever reason the animation wouldn't play, thus screwing up the casual chat feature. Fear not, because after saving, exiting, and reloading, I was able to talk to all the appropriate parties, no problem.
You get used to it. But nothing compared to the journey from Skyrim.
And was able to talk to the other Khajiit to acquire some additional quests. Which brings us to the story of the cats and the elves. I'm sure I'll come up with a better or cleverer name for this next part. Now, the main quest of this mod is obtained by talking to this tall Khajiit in this boat, Mervar Denfriend. His missions take you to various parts of Elsweyr while slaying a bunch of Thalmor punks. The first step requires you to settle a small Khajiit-Thalmor dispute in an area close by. Head towards the Tenmar Den and a door just behind the boat. There you'll find several Thalmor soldiers and wizards engaging in a battle with the locals. You also find an enemy native to this area called the Imga. It's a gorilla-like creature, really just a reskinned wood troll, so nothing you haven't faced before. Unfortunately, it doesn't drop anything. Take out all the enemies and make sure the Khajiit NPC in this area is okay before heading back to the boat, bro. Mervar will then send you off to another area of the jungle with reports of a Thalmor airship. Yep, a whole ass airship just landed nearby. It's your job to take out the captain, uncover details about their mission, and report back. Although there isn't a whole lot to interact with, the airship is quite cool. There are apparently a handful of airships in the Elder Scrolls world, and it's good to see them as a concept utilized in at least some way. In any event, once the airship crew's been handled, you now get to travel via airship to kick some more Thalmor ass. After talking to Mervar once again, you'll contact some associates to deal with Thalmor agents harassing a remote outpost. In the player home location, you'll find your own airship with a colorful duo of a crew, one of which is the best character in this mod, Skullcat.
Ahoy!
That's all the footage I had. He's an okay character, he's funny, but rather unspectacular. Talk to the captain below deck to fly off to the desert. You don't get a cool cutscene while traveling like the train in Black Ridge Railroad. Instead, you get a quick text box detailing a quite boring and uneventful journey. Sure, it's fast and effective, but rather cheap. Again, it's an old mod and they can only do so much. The desert area is almost the same as the one earlier in this mod, except it's now inhabited with these giant choruses, hyenas, and titan animal bones. Pretty metal. Some might go as far as to say, "Fucking sick!" Head towards the back of the airship, up the hill, assassinate some more Thalmor bitches, grab this loser's diary, and head back to the airship. You can return to this location later via the airship, so don't worry about combing the location for valuables first time around. As you travel back to the jungle, you get attacked by the main Thalmor agent via his airship. This is quite cool as you and Skullcat fight off these hijackers in the middle of the sky. The skybox is lacking in any detail or style, but the epic and imaginative fight more than makes up for the lack of background visuals and audio. Make your way into the captain's quarters and slay Leniel. In my game, he had an enchanted greatsword, suffice to say, quite a valuable piece of equipment. And with that, you can head back to Mervar triumphantly to tell him the Thalmor problem has been dealt with. For now. Now all that's left is to chill out in the jungle, killing the various indigenous species, drinking coconuts, filling up your living space, and doing side missions. Of the few side missions, one in particular stands out and can be considered a decent epilogue to the whole mod. So let's quickly cover it. Head back to the docked airship and talk to the captain, Kulan. He'll tell you that a prominent Khajiit member is being held captive on a jungle island, and wants you to save them. So head off on the airship again, have another unspectacular journey, and arrive on a very green island in the middle of the sea. This area is inhabited by a gang of Argonian bandit mages. After a short easy battle through the bandit camp, help Joe Ron located at the very back. He'll thank you for your assistance and proposes this island can be set up as a new base of operations. Head back to the airship, tell Kulan the news, and head off to another location. You'll need some time for Joe Ron and his associates to set up a new base. Order Kulan to head back to the island and you'll see it has some new additions. It's still the same jungle Dwemer island, but it's now inhabited by a whole other cast of Khajiit NPCs. There's a blacksmith you can talk to trade with, several crafting stations, and NPCs that don't really do much, but say some funny lines of dialogue.
So many arrows and knees. Khajiit does not know why it's so funny.
Talk to Joe Ron, who offers you this area as another player home, and the quest is now complete. Congrats, you now have 2 homes in Elsweyr, one with the overly gracious title of New Elsweyr. There's a handful of side content, but I think I've covered the bulk of it. There are a couple of side quests, one with an interesting enemy and another with some cool armor that I won't cover because this video would be super long. And also I don't want to. If you're interested, play the mod yourself or watch a YouTube video. Instead, I like to wrap things up with issues I encountered and what this mod could have done better. To say this next list of negatives makes this mod bad would be an overstatement. Sure, some aspects don't work very well, but as a whole, the mod is still quite good, and because it's an old one, things are more forgivable. Let's start with something I don't think should have happened and is quite annoying: NPC dialogue bugs. I've touched on this briefly already, and even though it has a foolproof remedy, it's still an annoying bug. I've mainly encountered this in the Khajiit village and the island settlement, where the bulk of the NPCs are. However, the issue seems to affect generally all NPCs, as I found myself saving, quitting, and reloading as I spoke to almost all the essential actors in a given quest. I've already theorized why this could be happening, but maybe it's just an issue with the age of the mod and its port over to another platform. There have been Xbox specific issues with mods in the past, so I wouldn't be surprised if this is a porting issue. It's not like it's game breaking. Sure, it can be somewhat time consuming, as what you experience can be considered a soft crash. But it's not something so severe I'd write this mod off entirely. The same amounts of fun can be had, it just may take slightly longer. Surprisingly, none of the visuals or gameplay features have any issues. Apart from the NPC glitches, this is easily the most pleasant mod I've played through in a while. What would have really completed the experience would have been some quality music and sound effects. If you play with music enabled, you'll be listening to the same old Skyrim OST, which isn't bad by any means, but it really doesn't fit in with the style, themes, and settings of this mod. Skyrim's music is perfectly paired with its world, Nordic with some fairy tale and medieval themes sprinkled in. That's why it sounds so weird with the visuals and themes of this mod. This mod would have been great with some exotic sounding music to nail the tone this mod was going for. I'm not talking about anything original that was composed by goddamn Hans Zimmer himself, but something royalty free or from another video game would have easily sufficed. Maybe I've been spoiled from mods like the Forgotten City or the Temple of Time that have stellar music, but with areas as well put together as this, it's really a huge opportunity missed by not pairing any type of music to really engross you into the world. My final gripes about this mod are all about quest design and narrative. The quests are agonizingly simple. Most are just your standard fetch quests with a cool looking set thrown in at the apex of the task at hand. Airship, green island, glowy cave. You talk to someone, you do a thing or get a thing. Most times you have to cleave through a group of enemies to do that, and then you come back to the NPC. It feels like you're doing busy work for the NPCs. Seems like quest design was left simplistic on purpose to highlight the main focus of the mod, which were all the visual aspects. To the author's credit, they are quite good and still hold up to this day. I can totally see why players might have jizzed their pants when this mod came out. But games are an interactive medium, and to put it bluntly, the interaction with this world is very bare bones. The environmental visuals are simply backdrop in most cases. The last thing I want to touch on is the writing. Most quests don't have any real tension or stakes, apart from the slowed quest, which is pretty good. All of them are you just putting out fires for the denizens of the jungle and desert. The Thalmor situation isn't all that drastic, it is just a small rebellion to stop the Thalmor from disrupting the Khajiit's moon sugar operations. None of the NPCs or outposts are in grave danger. Feels like their business isn't even really in danger all that much, to be honest. Your actions here could have felt more significant, but the mod doesn't do a good job of making the stories feel significant. At the end of the day, we have to remember this is an old mod, so the shortcomings it has can easily be excusable. It's a good 1 to 2 hour experience and is quite fun. It allows you to see some new settings that were created completely from base game assets that were tweaked slightly to make it feel foreign, and honestly, that is the most impressive aspect of this mod. The voice acting can be rough at times.
Us has been allowed to wander these waterways in this age,
but it's passable. Quests, storylines, and gameplay aren't anything fresh. They ultimately serve as a vehicle to show you more of the mod's aesthetic. I encountered some issues with NPC dialogue, but it was easily repairable. Yeah, it's annoying, but it's something you'll probably have to deal with too. At the end of the day, would I recommend playing this mod? No. Now look, this doesn't mean this mod is bad. I actually do like this mod. It's just far too outdated for our current day gaming standards. You're better off playing other games or current mods. So what the hell was the point in all this? Well, respect. This mod is a full display of talent and creativity on the mod maker's end. Using resources that predate modern mods as well as games, the creator was able to produce something that looks professional and, from what I can tell, sticks pretty close to the Elder Scrolls lore. It really must have taken a lot of time and effort to make something look like it was far from the Skyrim that we know, and it shows, so kudos. Although it's not specifically said or implied, I can see this mod being an influence or inspiration for other out of Skyrim mods like Bruma or the Somerset Isles. Moonpath definitely showed what was possible for Skyrim mods. In a way, it built something great, left the door open for other modders, and then they kept building on top of it. Now, it would be a downright shame if the mod maker with this level of talent and creativity never produced anything apart from this mod. Which is why I'm happy to say that they have moved on to creating and producing their own game. The Falconeer, a fantasy air combat game where you play as a warhawk, fucking awesome, was released on all platforms in 2020. It has positive reviews, and from the gameplay footage I've seen, looked quite good. The developer has not lost their sense of style. Here's some more interesting facts about it. It was developed solely by one person and was BAFTA nominated in 2021 for Best Debut Game. Fucking wow. When I have time, I'll check it out. It looks really fun, I like the art style, and from playing this mod and working on this video, I now have some mad respect for the developer. So you're damn right I'm gonna give their game a shot. And that is all, folks. Let me know in the comments what you think about anything in the video. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. My name is Efrain. Adios.